Alright, so it's June 28th. I'm over at Chessman Reservoir. That's Red Mountain in the background there. So I'm just looking, I'm going to look at the forest just around here that they're planning to log for what they're saying is a fire mitigation project. And I just noticed in my way in that there are quite a few moose tracks down around the water. I'm just going to pan down and show those. So I mean, it's pretty clear moose are living in here. Driving in, I just saw a moose and a calf in some of the sort of mixed dead and live forest. So as you can see, the moose is heading into the woods. I'm looking at some of the dead trees that city officials and Forest Service officials are worried about because of they worry about a catastrophic fire. Sort of contend that the forest is unhealthy. People who have filed lawsuits and some wildlife ecologists are pretty quick to point out that dead trees are part of any forest ecosystem. So even though there's pine bark beetle death, doesn't necessarily mean the forest is unhealthy. It might be really unsightly. So I'm just gonna kind of look at some of the grounds. As you can see, some of the trees are live and some of them, a lot of them, probably maybe most of them aren't. These are, I believe, lodgepole pine. So the idea is that when you cut down, when you work on stands of lodgepole, you clear cut it. Got some pictures a little bit ago of some clear cuts that abut this watershed. Up there, it was like the Clancy and Unionville timber sale from the USFS. So anyway, you can see so I'm walking back into the forest here a little bit, and I'm just kind of past a tree that it seems to have died, maybe from pine bark beetles. I'm not really sure, but it's a natural fall. It wasn't cut, just sort of laying here. I think a lot of the concern that some people express is that you get a lot of these dead trees and they're more flammable. Some forest ecologists say that actually isn't the case, that they maybe are more flammable when you see these, like the red needles like you can see on this little tree here, that they're maybe more flammable than when they're green, but that there's sort of a drop-off on their flammability. I'm not going to make any claims that I know the answer to that, but there is some contention in that regard. But I'm just kind of looking back here and looking at the grass on the ground, at the new growth. So you can see there's, there are little trees sprouting up around. Here you get some more snags where trees have fallen after they died. A lot of these provide, and this is an uncontentious point, that snags of dead trees and things like this, they provide shelter and cover for different species. Some of the species that this recent lawsuit about this logging project have brought up are Canada lynx. They're concerned about wolverine, concerned about grizzly bear, which I guess are known to inhabit this area. So I'm just looking around, different fallen trees. You can see there's several of them in this just little vicinity right here, amongst the standing dead trees and some live trees. I'm trying to imagine what this area would look like if you were standing here and it were clear cut. I took some pictures at the nearby clear cuts, and the things I guess I noticed, not being a biologist myself or an ecologist, it is just that in those areas, the ground seemed to be a little more chewed up, albeit it was maybe on a hill, so there were probably some differences than when you get down next to the water. But there wasn't as much grass. There definitely wasn't. We didn't have these snags of trees. There were different kinds of plants. Some of them appeared to me to be weeds that I know from my own property in Helena. Right now, so I'm just standing right here on the side, on the bank of the Chessman Reservoir. It's kind of a nice day. I'm just going to point out, so people who are working to try to clear cut this area all the way around, as you can see, all the way around the reservoir, they contend that there's a high risk that there will be what is known as a catastrophic fire, which is maybe different than a regular fire, in that, they say it burns hotter, has a potential of sterilizing the soil so that it destroys the ability for trees to regenerate the way they used to. Others say that risk is I've heard it referred to as that risk being infinitesimally small. They actually argue that whereas the one group contends that if there were a fire like that, you might get some runoff from the surrounding area that would wash down into the reservoir and create some problems with sedimentation. Others are contending that actually when you log and you bring in equipment to do that and you drive equipment back in here and you go through that process, that actually is known to pose a risk of sedimentation that might actually cause a similar kind of problem. Again, I'm not saying I know the answer to that. That is what people are saying.